I'm Lance.
And I'm Mike.
And we are just these guys,
Hello again.
Good morning, Mike.
How are you doing?
I am concentrating very hard to keep my mouth to the side of the microphone.
And why?
Because
you
hear a rattle in here. Wow. As I edit these videos, I noticed as I'm going through the audio, take out the throat clearing, the coughing, but I'm guilty of a lot of plosives.
Plosives?
Plosives. And so hopefully you haven't heard them when listening to the podcast, but when you speak directly into the microphone and say P's and T's, it sounds like an explosion in your ear. So I have to go through and edit all of those. And I'm like, how do I do that? I don't know what's going on. So I'm concentrating to make the voice sound better.
So
I was trying not to say not, but go ahead.
One of the most nerve-wracking things for me is to actually go back and listen or watch.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've been most conscious of my own involvement, which, by the way, so far, this has gone exactly the way my life basically goes. I'm doing about 10 to 20% of the talking, and I love that because that's how I live. In my everyday conversations, in my Monday through Saturday life, except on Sundays when I have to do most of the talking for a half an hour.
Sure.
The rest of the time, I just am not a big talker. That's why it's really strange that this was my idea. But I like to listen and ask questions and just basically try to learn and soak in as much as I can. I'm not a highly opinionated person. I just never really have been.
True.
And if I am, I have just learned to keep my opinion and, I guess, process it until I feel like, and a lot of times as I process it, I realize I don't really need to even bother with expressing that. Now, if it's important, I will. If I have something to add, I will.
Right.
But I just am not the kind of person that's going to walk around making sure everybody knows what I think about what I think.
Well, and what I've noticed over the past few years now, that you kind of mentioned it, hindsight 2020, is you don't have a strong opinion that you're wanting to step out and assert to other people.
Yeah.
But you do hear other strong opinions, and then you want to talk about those strong opinions.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
So when we do get together, not moving wood.
Yeah.
But you would come in and say, did you read this or did you hear that? And then we would talk about this very strong opinion about something.
Right. Yeah.
Or people's different opinions posing polar opposite
yeah.
approaches to something.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of times what happens is people perceive that my goal in life is just to be nice. And that's not really true.
Right.
My goal in life is to be kind. My goal in life is to be Christ-like.
Sure.
But there is a time for righteous anger. There's a time for the right kind of anger for the wrong kind of people. It's necessary. But I just find that a lot of times if I'll just process through, I realize, that's their perspective. That's what they see in life. And if it's necessary for me to say something, I absolutely will. But I try as much as possible to, if I let everybody know every time what I'm thinking, I will end up not just saying something, but throat punching people who don't necessarily deserve it. And so that's just for me.
I'm glad
it's
you
how
don't
I go
do
about
that.
life. Yeah.
Well, the Bible says, and this is tangentially related, but it says something about, you show me, tell me your faith. You tell me you have faith.
Mm-hmm.
Your words say you have faith. I show you my deeds.
Sure.
And you're not the type of person to walk around proclaiming a lot of stuff like a radio microphone.
Sure.
But we will find you helping somebody move. We will discover that you've been helping a homeless person get into an apartment. And so you don't speak through your mouth. You don't say a lot of these opinions out loud and try to force them on other people or convince other people. You go and do. Your belief, your faith is shown through your deeds.
Well, yeah, I try.
Now, I know we had something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So today, as we record this, March 21st, is World Down Syndrome Day.
Yay!
Yeah. So first, I want to give a big shout out to Ryan.
Ryan!
The man.
The best son ever.
Yep. And then I wanted to, just real quick, I'll show this camera right here.
Who are we advertising? Who's our sponsor today, Mike?
Our sponsor today is CARE. Mrs. Courtney and Abby, a big shout out to them. But we're going to have a little party here a little bit later today.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, World Down Syndrome Day. The theme for this year, I looked it up on Facebook. I don't want to give the impression that I'm totally, up and aware on everything that's going on. So this is a great day for me to become more aware, which is the goal of the day, of inclusion. And instead of even considering the limitations, but consider the opportunities that are there, that the things that they can achieve. And the theme is with us, not for us. But I think it would be awesome if you could give us just a little bit of a perspective on being a dad of someone with Down syndrome and just how amazing that has been over the years.
Well, and it will be a little bit because I'm selfish with it all. I'm very protective of that.
Yeah.
I did see a documentary on PBS years ago, and this kind of summed it up for me. So if you want to go find it and look at it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it was called Teaching John.
Oh, okay.
And it was about a guy with Down syndrome named John, but it was more about his family. And his sister had gone to a psychologist and was in therapy and said to the psychologist, I want to know how to teach John. And the psychologist told her, honey, you got it all wrong. You're not put here to teach John. John is here to teach you.
Oh, that's good.
And that's, been part of the amazing discovery over my lifetime is that I learn 10 times more from him than I could ever teach him.
Sure.
And every opportunity that I have to be with him. See, I'm tearing up right now. Every opportunity I have to be with him, there's just something amazing that occurs. I showed you the video of him singing the faith song.
You should put a little clip on this week. Yeah.
It just, you watch it and it just brings tears to your eyes. But he, without any assistance from me, came in here, set up the studio, got everything ready to go, got his phone ready to go, got the lyrics typed up and written out, got his shower done, got his dress dress shirt on, combed his hair, and got it all set up and ready to go, and then called me.
Nice.
And the dad video, because he didn't know how to turn it on and start it.
Sure.
And I just operated the video cameras, and he performed the entire song in conjunction with his church in Dallas, First United Methodist Church of Richardson.
Yeah.
Together on the video, performed with them this beautiful, beautiful song. And at the end, it was so incredible. At the end, he just kind of sits there for a minute with a grin on his face, kind of looking around, and then he goes, "Got it."
Yeah, it's an amazing video. So good. So, happy World Down Syndrome Day to everybody.
Thank you, Ryan, for being the best son ever.
Absolutely. There's not been one single time that I haven't seen Ryan, either at church or in your office, where it hasn't just made my day better.
Oh,
he's a gift, is what he is.
Yeah, he's from morning to night.
Yeah,
just it's a continual gift that keeps on giving.
Yep, it's really amazing. Well, what do you got?
Well, I had a question for you, a couple of questions for you. First of all, I didn't know if this was a dream or not.
Okay.
So you can help me out with it. But last time you were in here, and I went to the video and the audio after you left to see if I was dreaming or if it really happened or if it happened before the video started. But did you say to me that I am serving you the worst cup of coffee ever.
Yeah. Well, what I said was you used to serve me the worst cup of coffee ever, and I have just figured out how to get used to it.
Okay.
It's still a bad cup of coffee.
So it wasn't a dream.
No, no. I have figured out in an effort to lower my sugar intake. See, I usually put a whole lot of creamer in a little bit of coffee. And so what you, like at the office when we used to hang out over there, you didn't really have creamer.
No.
So I would have to force it down black. And I'm just guessing you're not buying the most expensive coffee out there.
No. Well, and the funny thing is at the office I was buying the Starbucks and all of that, and nobody would drink it, or if they did drink it, they didn't say anything. But so I was like, I'm spending, a lot of money on coffee here for nothing. Yeah. So I started buying the $5 can of Dylan's off-brand.
Sure.
And that's when I started getting compliments on my coffee.
Oh, boy.
They're like, oh, this is a really good cup of coffee. And I'm thinking, it's a $5 can. Now, before you drink that, I just want you to know, in response to what you said last week.
Yeah.
And now, I haven't tasted it. That would be rude. I just put all the ingredients in, mix it with my finger, and then. But
well,
how is this cup of coffee?
Well, it's way better than what I've had here so far. It's cold.
Well,
but when did you make it? Like 4 a.m.?
No, but I put almond milk in it from the fridge.
Oh, okay.
I put honey.
Yeah, I can taste the honey.
And then about a shot of coffee.
Yeah. It's actually quite pleasant.
But if you'd have said something at any point, I would have accommodated you. I had no idea until you said, you served me the worst cup of coffee ever. I was just shocked.
Well, man, you have upped your coffee game. I appreciate that.
So,
like I say, I should have said what I wanted.
What is your craziest dream?
Craziest dream as in like a dream that I've had, or the dream that I dream?
The craziest dream you're willing to share on the air with the public.
Well, the dream that comes to mind the reason it comes to mind is because I've had it so often. There's a couple of them, and I don't know. I don't even know what to do with it, but I've had a reoccurring dream over the years, ever since I was a little kid, that I'm riding a bicycle, and I'm in Colorado. We used to live in Colorado Springs a long time ago. I was 3 or 4 years old, and I'm riding down a hill. Sure. Now, we used to do this. I had a big wheel. Remember the old big wheel?
Right.
Where you were basically sitting on the ground, and they would send me flying down this, our street was basically a hill. Okay. Flying down the street, and then you had the little brake on the side, and you would crank up on the brake and do like a 360 or as many spins as you could possibly do without killing yourself. But my dream has always been that I'm cruising down this hill, and all of a sudden I begin to take off, kind of the E.T. Yeah. But this is way before E.T.
It's a dream about
flying.
flying.
And way after. So, yeah, it's a dream, and all of a sudden I'm flying through the air, and I can see as clear as can be everything, but I'm not afraid. There's no fear.
Right.
And then I do fall. All of a sudden I fall, and I begin to go, I'm falling. So I'm going fast towards the ground, but then I wake up. Every single time I'll wake up.
And when you wake up, is it like you hit the mattress and jolt awake, or
it's before that?
Before that.
Yeah, it's before I hit anything. I'll wake up. So I have that reoccurring dream, and then I have had over the years, hasn't happened for a long time, but I have a reoccurring dream where I will. There's a storm going on outside, and we go to the basement, and I'm looking out the window. It's the rectangle windows, so they're not very tall.
Sure.
And I'm looking out through these windows, and there are like several tornadoes all around. And it's the interesting thing is that this is a reoccurring dream.
Right.
And so several tornadoes all around, and then nothing happens, and I wake up. And that's, I don't know what to do with those. The reason that they're the strangest for me is that, again, they're reoccurring. I keep having them over the years. So, if you got some good insight.
No.
Yeah.
But
Me neither.
Freudian and Jungian, they do a lot of dream interpretation, but it's also in a larger context. You can't just spit something out.
Right.
According to them, you have to lay on their couch for 2 years.
Yeah.
Pay them $500 an hour. Mm-hmm. Then they'll tell you what the dream means.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, there is psychoanalysis. Dream interpretation is an element of it. So they would focus in on the flying. They would focus in on the storms. Those would be important elements of the dream interpretation. And if you want to go home and Google that, and everybody watching this right now, if you want to Google that, flying dreams and tornado dreams, then when you look at Mike in church, you'll have a whole new perspective. The way I've always kind of looked at dreams is, how do you feel when you wake up?
Okay.
And it's the way I utilize dreams is the dream itself, your mind. There's stuff going on in the waking world that you're dealing with.
Yep.
And your mind is trying to prepare you mentally, emotionally to deal with the things going on in the waking world. So if you have a test on Friday that you haven't been studying for, you may have dreams of running through the woods away from a monster, and you wake up very scared and anxious. The anxiety is what you need to get in there and study.
Okay, yeah.
So if you're wanting to do a little self-analysis, you can go deep with the dream's meanings, or you can, the utilitarian element of a dream.
Yeah.
How do I feel when I wake up?
Yeah. So I really see what I'm about to say as a blessing. I don't have a great memory. So there are times where I think, I can't believe that I don't remember that, because somebody will bring up a time where we just had an amazing, experience, and I don't remember it. And it's a little scary, but at the same time, there are so many things that I'm happy to forget, that I'm glad I don't remember. And I don't remember a lot of my dreams. I'm fascinated by people who literally every night, Dawn, my wife, remembers the majority of her dreams. Pretty much every morning she can wake up and tell you about the dream she had. She dreams in color. She dreams it's very vivid. I will say things in her dreams that will have her mad for a week. They're very real to her. And so but I don't have that. Yeah. And I'm interested in knowing at some point. I need to dig into that as well to see, why do some people have great memories and other people like me not remember too much.
Didn't we talk about, I don't remember, ADD? Or, attention, concentration. It's an important element in the whole memory process.
Yeah. Yeah.
But speaking of not remembering, and people will say things, you've been lead pastor for how long? 17 years?
Yeah, since 2010.
You were kind enough to share your walk a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Have you ever run into anybody from pastor days?
And it's usually...
How does that go?
It usually goes well. I was never really the guy who was mean-tempered. I mean, I've had my moments for sure. There are obviously going to be a few people out there who think, man, the way he treated me, I can't believe. But for the most part, I've always been a guy who is considerate to others. Actually, the reputation that I had in school, really, to a lot of people, was someone who was kind of arrogant and stuck up. Most of that was just, again, me not wanting to be the one talking all the time, or just naturally, I just don't.
Sure.
But the majority of the time, the conversation is them surprised, though, that this is the path that I ended up on.
Surprised.
There's no doubt about that. That this was it's always, you're what? You're a pastor? Now, it's been long enough that
Sure.
that the majority of the people that I grew up with would now know.
Sure.
But yeah, in the beginning, for sure, it was a surprise, and no more surprise to anyone than me. And so, why wouldn't it be to others?
So
this is just not
any of those times where you walk in someplace and somebody's like, Michael Snow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Michael Snow.
Oh yeah.
Michael.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm Mike now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I don't know who it is that you know. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to run into people that just knew me in a completely, my pre-Jesus. And I still, though, I don't live a life where, well, let's put it this way. I try to live a life where people that I will maybe at some point in time have an opportunity to have a conversation with about Jesus and about my faith, I want them to be comfortable with who they're talking to.
Huh.
I feel like that's the first thing that has to happen. And so for me to try to express how different I feel on the inside, how much holier I am, would be stupid. It wouldn't be an approach that would be effective at all. And so I always think back about all of the conversations that I've had at wedding receptions. Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons that I love to do weddings, and I find it to be a little odd how much I enjoy doing weddings,
yeah,
and how much, I don't say enjoy doing funerals, but how much I embrace doing funerals. It's because of the conversations in the margins. Mm-hmm. It's because of the conversations for weddings at the wedding receptions.
Right.
And so having a conversation with somebody, I've already talked about, they know that I'm there as the pastor.
Right.
The wedding's already
right.
taken place.
Right.
They already know, and I can think of several people that talking about, now these things I remember. These conversations I do remember. Mm-hmm. These stick. But it's when I'm having a conversation with somebody over a beer and we are just talking about life, and then the majority of the time it leads to them expressing to me a struggle that they have. And many times it's a struggle with religion. And so I get to share with them my experience and my perspective and how I have learned so much over the years in just understanding that it's really truly about relationship. And we can do relationships. We're not all very good at relationships, but man, we can do relationship a lot better than we can do religion.
Of course. That's
and
great.
So those are the times that I really, really love being in this role.
And I think that, there's a difference between saying I'm religious and having that relationship truly in your heart, because when you're having to say it, then you're having to remember what to do.
Yeah.
And how to act. And then there is that false element to it.
Right.
Hey, brother, how are you today?
Right.
It's good to see you.
Yeah.
As opposed to the more natural, and this flows from your heart. And I think that's what people sense and why people gravitate towards you and have those conversations in the margins. Mm-hmm. They sense the difference. They know they can be comfortable around you. And that's due to the relationship you have. That's kind of shines through, and people sense that and see it.
Mm. Well, for me to do anything different would be, it just wouldn't be natural for me. And it obviously wouldn't come across as genuine. And so, I don't struggle with the expectation of what a pastor is supposed to do, mm-hmm. or supposed to act like. I just don't struggle with that. And so I say this, and it's still the truth. I am still to this day I want to make sure this is accurate. I am still to this day as comfortable in a bar setting as I am in a church setting. I just am. So, I don't know, Grace Point might become a bar. I don't know. So,
well,
a blending of the two, I suppose.
When people ask me where do I go to church, I'll tell them Grace Point. And the way I've kind of taken to describing it to connect with them, to help them. Because most people, when you think of church, the hard wooden pews, the suit, the tie, the slick back hair.
Like this.
Like this. As soon as you and I are done here today, I'm turning right around and appearing in court. So
sure, yeah.
This is dual purpose.
Well, you look good.
Thank you very much. But I tell people, it's kind of like a bar on Sunday morning. The atmosphere, it's relaxed, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
There's music, people smiling, talking, accepting, warm.
Yep.
There's the traditional church where you walk in and it's fairly pretentious and good-hearted people trying to do good-hearted things for that 30-minute segment that they haven't been doing all week.
Sure.
And there's a different feeling in a more of your traditional church that I think a lot of people gravitate away from, and they have all these preconceived notions about various things, and the relaxed atmosphere and the ability to, I mean, if somebody's standing there in the lobby looking around and you say, hey, can I help you? And they ask you a few questions and then walk off. I'm like, that was the pastor. What? That you are comfortable enough that you blend in. I mean, it's not that you blend in like you're trying to blend in, but it is a group of people who are all there to nurture each other and just develop a relationship with
Jesus.
I mean,
we're all in this together. 100%.
Well, given that this was not your life's role from the time you were born and you've done a lot of it on the fly, have you ever had any embarrassing moments on stage or?
Well, yeah. My biggest issue, I'm thinking about this. I'm trying to choose.
Filter.
I'm trying to decide. Well, filter is it.
Yeah.
Filter is 100%. I've told jokes that were inappropriate. I mean, when you tell a joke that would have been uncomfortable in a bar, and you're doing it on a Sunday morning in a church building, you probably should have a filter that keeps you from going there. But I've done that. I've used analogies that not only are inappropriate, but they don't even really work for the message. There's a whole lot of things that now I haven't done anything like there's a popular one out there where the guy says that Lot pinched his tit. That one, I haven't.
I'm staring at you blankly because I don't know it.
I haven't. He's supposed to say pitched his tint, but he said pinched his tit. So, I mean, I've said many things. It's dangerous for 30 minutes, approximately. You're standing up there and you're speaking into a hot microphone, right. Just like here. It's dangerous. At least this can be recorded and edited out.
Have you ever had a hot mic moment?
I have, where I have been in conversation with people and my pack is still on.
Yeah.
And even though it's not hot in the room, it's hot on the internet. And so that's the worst case scenario, is where I'm not necessarily saying something that I shouldn't be saying, but I'm saying something very private to someone. Right. They're expressing to me a private, conversation, and people are sitting there listening to it on the internet. That we've had to come up with a better system to make sure there's a protection. They're muting me at the board, shutting my mic off at the board. I'm doing the same thing on my, so it's a double protection. So the hot mic thing,
that's your ADD.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the worst part, is when you're supposed to be having that private, even prayer. I've had people, boy, that was a nice prayer you had with that. Well, you weren't even supposed to hear that. So, yeah. Again, and I know there are a whole lot more than I can remember.
Well,
but that's the blessing of a poor memory.
I don't know. I haven't experienced those with you, but I do know years ago, not years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever I did the seminar in the church, and I had that stage microphone on with the pack on the belt, and after I completed one of the nights, somebody pulled me aside over in a corner and began to ask me a question, and you shouted from across the auditorium and started kind of running my direction. Hot mic, hot mic, hot mic.
Yeah. Careful.
Click, turn it off.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's dangerous. Hot mics are dangerous. No doubt about it. People get fired.
Over hot mics?
Yeah, over hot mics. All the time. We've had it right here in the news for Wichita anchors. People get fired.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
All
of a sudden, it's like on Anchorman. Yeah, where there's in there, and he starts, telling Veronica Corningstone just what he thinks about her, what he's going to do. It's a hot mic. Oh.
Never done that, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Thank goodness.
I have many times embarrassed myself on stage.
Sure.
And I don't know that other people would know it necessarily.
Yeah.
Because being forever the class clown, I just own it.
Yeah.
Like it was intentional.
Yeah, that's the thing too. And I have just enough of an ornery side where a lot of times the reason that I don't follow the filter or listen to the filter is that I just am ornery enough to where I want to say it. And I want to try to make sure that, again, this isn't a stuffy environment. I do have a core value, and I believe this, that the gospel should never be boring. And so I try to never present the gospel in a boring way. So boring to me also includes stuffy. Right. It includes, pious. It includes holier than thou. I want to make sure that that's not the environment. So I will tell a joke from time to time that might be, on the kind of the edge of where we would want to go. But at the same time,
well, that's the funny
important
part to me is when you're sitting in your traditional churches, and I get it. There's certain road guidelines you have to kind of stay within and paint within, and you're hitting multiple audiences all at the same time, from a 15-year-old sitting there with his parents to somebody's grandmother. And so you're really trying to hit a broad audience a lot of times when you're speaking from the pulpit. But if you look at what was happening, when Jesus was walking around,
sure,
he didn't speak piously,
right?
Like the Jewish leaders did, whatever they were called, Pharisees,
right?
He told stories.
Yep.
And they were very relaxed, and in the relaxed telling of a story, wisdom and insight were revealed to those who were willing to hear it, whose heart was open. And so by telling a simple story, he then is able to bring in a realization and an understanding of what certain scriptures meant from what is now called the Old Testament.
Right.
And so we then turn around and put on our suits and play the organ and speak in the very serious tones. But that was not what he was doing.
Right.
Paul was arguing.
Yeah.
If you read what Paul writes, it's actually long legal arguments, like he's an attorney or something.
Yeah.
And so, and then a lot of the other books are, people's observations or experiences, and they're like, a lot of them are like, "Hey, dude, check it out. You got to stop. Trust me." If they were speaking in today's language, that's kind of what they're saying. What James is saying is like, "Check it out. He's my brother. I know what's going on here."
Yeah.
So the fact, I don't think it's anything to feel less than or ashamed about the way you present and run your church, and I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a very comfortable, welcoming, warm environment that
Yeah.
everybody walks away with something.
Yeah. And I just, again, to do it any other way would be forced. To do it any other way wouldn't be. I have learned over the years to embrace the reality that, and I say it all the time, but I've learned to really embrace it and accept it, that God called me.
Right.
He didn't call somebody else that he wants me to be. He called me. And so I just understand it's going to be different. My goal is, you talk about, using humor. My goal is never to be a stand-up comedian up there. That's not the goal. The goal is to use humor as an opportunity to bring down some walls, to help people to become more relaxed.
Sure.
I believe that laughter opens the ears, and that once you have somebody who's willing to relax and smile and even laugh a little bit, then you have an opportunity to have a great conversation. And that's all my goal is on a Sunday morning, is to have a conversation. One of the things that I love the most about the series, The Calling, is the very just personable presentation of Jesus. And what an amazing job they do of making Jesus very relatable. And how, because that's who he was. That's who I see Jesus as someone who was willing, God willing to come here, put skin on, and relate. That's Jesus. He came here to relate, to connect with us on every level. And so why would we not want to do that?
Yeah.
If we're going to be Jesus-like, Christ-like, then we are going to be relatable. Can't love God and love others if you can't be relatable.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
and so,
that's perfect.
yeah.
Well, I have a question for you, random. As you're talking about all these scenarios, I'm going to try to defend the question or take you through the 18 steps my brain went through to get here.
Okay.
But have you ever sneezed with a mouthful of Funyons? As you try to not sneeze with
Similar
your coffee.
to laughing with a mouthful of really, by the way, excellent coffee. So much better. I don't think so. I'm not a big Funyuns guy. But, yeah, again, not that I remember. Why do you ask?
I can see you. There's a little movie playing in my head. It's really hilarious.
Okay,
but I can see you in the back getting ready. Somebody has left a bag of Oreos. And
Sure.
you have a couple of Oreos and you walk out.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what I've done.
With
Yeah. I have choked on pieces of granola that have come out of my teeth in the middle of giving a message. In the middle of now that's awkward. When all of a sudden you're chewing the rest of your food. And you can't hide it.
No.
There's no hiding it.
Second,
So you just got to admit it, and you got to say, hey, give me a second here. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this granola bar.
second breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. You're like a cow.
Rechew the cud.
Yeah.
No, just those embarrassing things that just kind of happen, and they always seem to happen when you're trying to,
Say something really important.
say something important, appear
Right.
important.
Yeah.
You messed me up so bad one time. But that second night when we were filming, we decided to film those seminars. And that second night when more people showed up than we were anticipating, and I didn't reveal it or show it, but I went off to the side because I was having a mini anxiety attack. And that was the night that I had planned for part of the presentation a couple of not jokes, but some events to occur to kind of demonstrate the concept of reading people's minds and predicting futures. And so I had a guitar.
Yep.
So it looked like I was going to play, but then I would never do it. And
Yeah.
there were be jumping to conclusions. And I had a magic trick plan with these cards that involved audience participation. And so now I'm having an anxiety attack about all the people showing up. And the music starts for me to walk up, and you're to introduce me. And as the music starts, I'm really zoned out.
Right.
And you get ready to walk up there, and you pull me aside and say, hey, real quick, after the last seminar, somebody emailed us complaining because you said screw the pooch. And they were very offended and very upset by it. And so my anxiety...
That's when I did that to you?
Yeah. It went right from a 9 to a 10. My eyes got as big as saucers.
So I apologize right now.
No.
That is a cardinal sin.
Well,
you don't do that to a speaker.
And then you leaned in and put your arm around me. And it's, so what I want you to do tonight. Now I'm going down the road of apologies.
Yeah.
And mea culpas. And you leaned in and put your arm around me and said, what I want you to do tonight. I'm never going to be invited back to this church again. What I want you to do tonight is go up there and get on stage and say, screwed the pooch 13 times. And then you walked off.
Okay,
and,
yeah, I totally
and
remember that now.
here is Lance. And I'm like, just totally, my brain seized like an engine without oil.
Yeah.
And I had to walk on stage at that moment.
So my motivation was pure for you, but yeah, timing could have been better, but yeah, I totally remember that now that you say that.
Well, I'm sure you meant it in a positive way,
right,
to relax me. You had
right,
no idea the worry and fear going through my mind as I was getting ready to go up there. And
yep.
So
yeah,
that led to the card trick failing.
Yeah, I kind of remember that too.
So I did a somersault and landed on the feet and
yep,
saved it.
Failing forward, yep.
But people watching
That's
it would
awesome.
never know that was a total failure, what actually occurs.
Yeah, hey.
Became useful.
Most people have no clue. No clue. This has been fun. It's interesting to experience just a little on the other side of the mic for all of you folks listening. This is obviously it's a work in progress.
Right.
We both, I think I can speak for both of us, we anticipate that this is going to just get better and better with anything that you continue to persistently do.
Please keep listening and watching. It will get better.
Yeah, it'll get better. If you like it, share it. And you've said this, you never know when someone out there just needs to hear or even just feel included or invited into someone who might be really lonely or really hurting or really just in a desperate place, even a dark place, and they just need to be a part of something.
And if you have doubts about that and you want to bet with the odds, statistics show people over 60, 50% report being lonely. Age 20 to 30, 60% report feeling lonely in this day and age of social media.
Wow.
So you can bet there's a better than 50-50 chance that whoever you're talking to is lonely, needs something, would appreciate a reaching out, a touch, a hello. Hey, check this podcast out. Any kind of human connection, sharing.
Yeah.
The odds are with you that it will be appreciated.
Yeah. That's so amazing. In this day and age, how the loneliness is just out of control.
And I think we're lonely, and so people turn to social media to try to connect with somebody, but the act of turning to social media to connect disconnects you from other people. There's these moments of fakeness. They're fake Facebook posts, they're fake Instagram posts, their life is better than me. And we have these momentary conversations that are occurring in our brain, but the moment we pick up our face from the phone and look around our lives, we've created this false narrative in our mind, and reality is not as wonderful as the false narrative. So it drives us further into social media, and we start judging our lives based on the number of likes and clicks and heart symbols and emojis.
Yeah.
And the truth is, when we look up and look around, we feel lonely.
Yeah. Well, maybe part of our message can be, and can continue to be moving forward, that this is an on-ramp to getting connected to others. And maybe this is an encouraging word that you're hearing, an encouraging conversation that's going to just help you to move forward in your desire to actually physically get out and get connected with other groups, with even just a small group of people somewhere, someplace, just to come out of that. We all go into these shells, when we're all looking down at our phones, when we're doing this through social media, but the reality is we just want this to be a beginning of an opportunity to connect. And so
part of the reason I thought it would be good to do this is to dispel myths and break down barriers, because part of the social angst of meeting somebody else is we have all these preconceived notions about who they are, what they would like, what they won't like, what will happen if.
Yeah.
And so we resist, we fear, we step back, we don't engage, we don't step out because of what we think about the other person, who they are, what they would like or not like. And so I'm comfortable being in here on Tuesday mornings and talking with you and sharing my idiocy, my weaknesses, letting people see that I'm just a guy.
We might want to change the name. Just These Idiots,
It's not that, don't worry, you're just like everybody else. No, you are just like everybody else.
Yeah.
The way Mike is sharing his life with you and how things go for him throughout the day, and eating granola on stage. Because this is our daily life. We just, for 5 minutes, we put on something fancy and put on a presentation for others as part of our job. But the rest of the time, we're just like you, you're just like us, and everybody driving around you, everybody in the store, everybody in the church is just like you.
Yep. I don't know for sure why I was thinking about this, but I'll kind of just wrap up with this maybe. Okay. I was driving around. Actually, I went to the gym this morning, and
good for
on
you.
the way back, I'm trying to get back at it. I'm 2 days in. But as I was driving back, I was thinking about, it was probably in the context of thinking about, I wonder what we're going to talk about today. And one of the things that popped into my mind was road rage, which is actually something that I don't really struggle with.
Yeah.
I don't. But I asked myself, well, why? Why don't? There's obviously times where I could be mad at another driver.
Of course.
And the thought that occurred to me was, well, the way I'm going to think about this moving forward, and maybe I've thought about this a little bit, but I'm going to really think about this moving forward, is that literally everybody else on the road is blind. Talk about blind spots.
Right.
I've just always assumed that I'm in the person's blind spot.
Yeah.
And if they pull over in front of me, I was in their blind spot. So
Right.
I don't get mad. I was in their blind spot. There have been so many times where I pulled into another lane and there's been a car in my blind spot.
Oh.
Why would I get mad if I'm in their blind spot? So I thought, well, I'll take it to another level. I'm just going to assume that they're completely blind. And so you talk about being a defensive driver.
Yeah.
If you're going to be driving around and everybody is blind on the road.
That's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of my favorite times and favorite videos that I've been a part of are when my nephew Braden, who is blind, was driving the golf cart. And we're out on the course, and I put him in the driver's seat, and we go for it. And then I try to guide him. And so maybe that's something we can talk about coming up in the next few weeks. I think it's a great analogy, actually, for putting God, as our guide.
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, but if we were to just assume that, we're just in their blind spot, it's very helpful. And that's kind of the way I try to approach life. I'm not any better than anybody else. I've made bigger mistakes as much as anybody else. And so it's really an easier way to live.
Mm-hmm.
It's a much easier, and I think that as much as anything else is the whole judge not lest ye be judged. Listen, I don't deserve to be able to judge others.
No.
I just don't. So it certainly makes for an easier walk.
With that's worth the cost of admission right there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good thoughts.
Thank you.
Good reframes.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun.
Think that's it?
I'm Mike.
I'm Lance. And we are just these guys,
Have an awesome week.